You're listening to the Time to Level Up podcast. I'm your host, business life coach Andrea Liebross. I help women in business commit to their own growth personally and professionally. Each week, I'll bring you strategies to help you think clearly, gain confidence, make your time productive, turn every obstacle into an opportunity, and finally overcome the overwhelm so that you can make money and manage life. Let's create a plan so you have a profitable business, successful career, and best of all, live with unapologetic ambition. Are you ready to drop the drama and figure out the how in order to reach your goals? You're in the right place. It's time to level up. Let's do this. Hello, my friends, and welcome back to the podcast. So today, as we lead up to the Get a Grip Masterclass that starts on September 12th, if you haven't registered, then go do it. If you own a business, this is for you. Or if you run a department, this is for you. The link to register is in the show notes, or you can go right to your web browser at andrealiebross.com/getagrip2022. So as we lead up to that, and we lead up to the doors opening of the Runway to Freedom Mastermind, again, totally for you, women, business owner, department leader. And you'll want to make sure that you are on the early bird notification list so that you can get all of the early bird bonuses. If you're not on that list, you can head over to your web browser, andrealiebross.com/runway-to-freedom, or you can find the link in the show notes. As we lead up to those two amazing offerings happening this month of September, I wanted to introduce you to Monday West. Yes, her name is Monday. She does live on the West Coast in Southern California. And she is a mom, a wife, a business owner. She is amazing. And she and I have worked together over the past year to literally get a grip on her business and herself along the way. And then we worked together to continue on to kind of do somewhat of a reorg of her business so that she has some freedom in it and freedom of it so that she can focus on what she wants to focus on, which is actually developing a different aspect of her business that could be some passive income. She has become, in the process, as her family would say, much calmer. She has gotten a lot clearer on how she wants to spend her days, whether that's working or out on her boat. So she's someone who's gone through this process. So if you see yourself in her at all, then this Get a Grip Masterclass and Runway to Freedom Mastermind are for you. If you don't see yourself in her, then I think you also are just in for a treat because she is hilarious. So sit back, buckle up, and listen in to my conversation with Monday West. Hey, one more thing before we get started. I just wanted to point out that there are a handful of things that Monday was experiencing before we started. And just think about if any of these are you. I think she felt a little bit of lack of control. She didn't have control over her time or her business or what was going on in her house. And she kind of felt like things were controlling her instead of she controlling it. I think another thing she felt was she's having issues with people, right? She was frustrated with some employees. She was frustrated with her partner sometimes. No one was listening or understanding or following directions or following through on their actions. She just felt like everybody wasn't on the same page. Another issue, profit. Simply put, there wasn't enough of it. And I think one more thing is that she felt like, how is she actually going to grow? Like everything just seemed like it was a hamster wheel. No matter what she did, she couldn't seem to break through and get to that next level and felt a little bit overwhelmed and unsure. And then I think the last piece was that nothing she tried seemed to work. And she really believed that she was the one that ran the business. And if she walked away for a minute, the whole business would collapse. I don't think that's the case anymore. So as you listen, think about some of the issues you have. Do you feel like you've got sometimes lack of control or people issues or wish there was more profit or have hit a ceiling or just, hey, nothing's working? If that's you, more reason to listen. Okay. Hey, time to level up listeners. Welcome back to the podcast. And I already gave you a great little intro on Monday West. Yes, her name is Monday, not Tuesday or Wednesday. We've had lots of discussions about this. But yeah, it's the story of your life. Tell us the story. Why are you named Monday? What is the story? But you were born on Wednesday, right? Didn't you tell me that one time?
The real story or the ones that I've made up over the years?
I don't know. See?
Real story.
And that's Derby. So Derby is going to join us on this podcast recording. So we just debated if we should put Derby outside Monday's room or not. But I said, this is real life, and we're just going to leave Derby in there because I am all about real life.
Well, this is part of being self-employed, right?
Yes.
Like you have to deal with all the parts.
Yes. 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 All right. So tell us about your self-employment. Tell us in your own words, tell us what you're doing, who you are, how many hats you wear. Tell us all the things.
So I have a construction business, design build. We build swimming pools and in sunny Southern California. And I do all the designing, and my husband does a lot of the supervision as far as building, and we have a little crew, and then my niece works for us. It's very much of a family-owned small business.
Yeah, she's making it sound very simple, and it's not a simple thing. There's so many pieces to it.
It's true. And going into this, I thought, because I've been a designer for a really, really long time and became a contractor because I was so frustrated with other contractors that were building the jobs that I design. And I really thought, like, how hard can this be? Like, right. Why? It's hard.
It's hard. What do you think makes it hard? Like, what are 3 things that make it hard?
Gosh, there's so many moving parts that you don't think about. Some of the hardest parts are also the most rewarding parts, which is interesting and a conundrum, in and of itself. But like customers, I mean, dealing with people and personalities is difficult, but also kind of one of my favorite parts. I am really a personable person, and I take everything to heart. So this is not just a job. It's like making people's lives better, and that makes me happy. And so like the difficulties that I deal with during a job are rewarding at the end when everybody's happy.
Yeah, when they're jumping off their diving board. Oh, there's no diving boards in California. You told me that once.
No diving boards. They can still do a cannonball.
Okay. So I think what's super interesting about this is, number 1, Derby is still panting. That's interesting. Number 2, it's fine. It's funny. Number 2 is that the design part is like not the hard part, right? No. Isn't that interesting?
For me.
Yeah, for you. But I think that's so true for a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners. The reason that they get into the business or their skill set, that's the easy part. The skill set or executing on their skill set is easy. It's all the other stuff, but all the other stuff is the most rewarding. I mean, it's like for me, the coaching, sometimes my mom will ask me, she's like, aren't you exhausted? Didn't you coach like 10 people today? Yeah, but that's not really the tiring part. That's the part I love. It's all the other behind the scenes stuff that's the hard part.
Right. And that's the same thing too. Like the book work, the accounting, all that stuff I hate is not fun at all, but it all has to go together. So
right. Or else you don't have a business.
Right.
All right. So I recently read, and I shared this with Monday earlier, and we were talking earlier before we started recording. I recently read that entrepreneurs, we think that we can just in and of itself, being an entrepreneur, you have this mindset that you should be able to figure anything out and do it all because like you're inventive and creative and you are super creative in so many ways. But that's not necessarily the case, right? Like we can't figure everything out because we're not good at everything like bookkeeping or accounting or all of that stuff. So I guess I could tell them how we started working together, but you sort of share with that with the audience what when you originally reached out for coaching, what made you reach out? What was it? How did it happen? Because we've
Well,
evolved into
this is
lots of
the absolute truth. I've been struggling for a long time with exactly what you're talking about. Like I know I'm super confident about the things that I'm good at, and I know the things that I'm not good at. And I'm very good at delegating those things and finding the people that are good at that. But there's not always money for all that. And, so I found myself one day just thinking, how do I get what I want? So I literally went into Google and I Googled, how do I get what I want? Those words, exact words.
amazing.
And Pinterest came up
Okay.
and Andrea Liebross podcast came up.
Get
And I was
that.
like, and I don't even think that's that was a title of yours, but
I don't think so.
somehow that's what happened. And I clicked on it and I listened to the podcast about, and I don't know, you can tell me which number or tell the audience which number it is, but it was about changing your thoughts.
Ah,
So I was like, oh my God, this is so logical. Like I overthink everything. I always think way, way beyond what I need to think. And most of the time, things you have taught me that most of the time things are a lot more simple than you're making them. So
yeah.
narrow it down and take it from there because then it's just not so overwhelming and
But it's
you know
but I think we all experience this if we own our own businesses. It's like how do we get what we want? Because it doesn't seem like it should be this hard, right? Like
right.
if I'm so smart, why can't I figure this out? Number
Yeah.
one. And then when you do start to try to figure it out, you find yourself, me included, overcomplicating things and thinking
Hmm.
about all of the, like I like to say, like the tentacles of everything. And then you lose track of really what you were looking for in the beginning. So I think, again, that's kind of a symptom of entrepreneurism. And we've really worked on that. I mean, you even said today, you're like, how come you're so logical, right? But I don't find myself super logical when I'm trying to solve my own problems. So it really does, help to
But
have that other person.
well, and like one of the things that I even wrote down when I was looking at, you know, the questions that you were going to talk to me about was that like I'm a creative. So my brain is in 17 different places. Like it's exhausting being me. So like I am thinking of 1,000. I'm like a crow that sees something shiny and I have to go like
Yep.
all over the place. And when you throw the simplest question out to me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense. And my brain doesn't think that simply. And when you ask me a simple question, it just helps me relax and it helps me focus.
Because I
It's
think
so
you realize that you can figure this, like you got it, right? This isn't that hard.
yes,
This isn't that hard.
totally.
Okay, so Monday does have this creative atmospheres. Go Google it, creative atmospheres in southern sunny California if you need a pool. She's your girl. But you also have three lovely children, two dogs, one husband. What else? I mean,
Three.
a boat. You have a boat, right?
Oh, yes,
You
we
have a boat.
do.
Okay. So, I mean, would it be fair to say that sometimes our conversations are encompass both they encompass parenting, they encompass real world things that are happening in our lives, but they also encompass business stuff. Fair, would you say?
So 100%. And that's actually part of entrepreneurism that I think most people don't understand, and that's intimidating to them because it never ends. It never ends. And like there's no like you're off at 5 and then you become a mom. You're
No.
always a mom, and you're always a business owner, and you're always like all that, you have to wear all the hats all at once. There's no different times. And interestingly enough, the hour that you and I just had started off with you asking me something that we talked about 2 weeks ago that had to do with business. And then that only lasted 10 minutes and led into this whole family thing, which
Yeah.
was the same subject, just we just changed the people.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of fun to think about
I
it
do.
that way, right? That,
Mhm.
and I don't think we realize that until we start exploring that. All of these principles that are like things that we're learning about how to handle situations in our business, we can totally apply to our personal lives and vice versa. But we don't see it that way. It's not that, it's like we've got fuzzy glasses on until someone lifts up the fuzziness, right? We can't see that. So I find that happens a lot with my clients. They borrow, it's like you're borrowing ideas from one aspect of your business or your life rather into another. So I think that's kind of, I don't know, I find that powerful.
It is, and it actually just kind of simplifies things in my mind because there's so many moving parts, but a lot of those moving parts are doing exactly the same thing as they're doing. It helps like not compartmentalize everything,
Right. Right.
right?
So we were talking earlier, we were talking about the example we're talking about is Monday told one of her employees, like, listen, this is what I need you to do. And I don't want to give you 62 million instructions around it. I want you to figure it out and come back to me. And he actually did. And he came back and did everything she asked with like shining stars. And it was amazing. And then 10 minutes later, we're talking about, I said to her, how do you use that same type of tactic with your kids? She's like, really? I could just tell them what I want from them and not have to tell them exactly how to do it. And they might possibly come back having done it. She's like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
But it's true. The same principle. And you could use it both ways. So
Yeah.
anyway.
And for
All right.
whatever reason, my brain doesn't think that way until you bring it up. And then as soon as you bring it up, I go, oh my God, you're so right.
See,
It can be applied to everything.
it can. So I like
Mhm.
to say sometimes coaching is like just having this person help you apply different things that you already know to different parts of your life. And also, it's someone that can give you an outside perspective because you're so in it, right? Like you're so in. Monday is so into her green light chores app. Case go Google that one. We're giving green light chores app a plug for anyone who has children. We decided to use it in a whole different way today and relate it to her business. So now she's got her kids, operating like her business. It's great. All right. Anyway, I digress. All right. So give the listeners a little bit of perspective on when we started working on your business. So we did some life coaching and then we started working on your business. When we started working on your business in January, how would you describe it? Like what was the status, the state of the union of creative atmospheres?
So we have always been, I mean, it's like I said, it's a family run business. It's relatively small. And with that kind of a dynamic, we have always been able to sort of operate unstructured, I guess.
Yeah. I think that's
Um,
fair.
Gotten away with it, I guess, is and we're successful in what we do, and it's not a mess, but it doesn't feel grounded, I
Mhm.
guess. So when you and I started doing the Vision Traction Organizer, it kind of gave like, okay, one of the things that we wanted to do was kind of grow and become a little bit bigger. I don't want to be a giant company, but obviously we all want to, make
Yeah.
more money, start saving for retirement and all those things. So, but I thought that in the state that we were in, that was not going to be possible because there were so many, again, back to this whole moving parts thing, there's so many moving parts. And up to that point, there's kind of 4 people in our business that are like, I would say principal people. And that's me and my husband and my foreman and then my office manager. And there's a lot of things that need to happen in this business. And all 4 of us were kind of just doing everything. We were all like jack of all trades.
You're all doing everything. Like
All
everybody had a hand on each piece.
Yeah, and then somebody else was stepping on somebody else's toes, and sometimes things were getting done twice, and sometimes things weren't getting done at all because we were like, well, that guy was going to do it, and then so it was unorganized. We were functioning, but it was just not. It wasn't running on its own, really.
Right.
I mean, it was really. So yeah, it was kind of just.
It didn't feel good. It didn't feel good, right?
It felt chaotic. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's stressful.
Right. And I think a lot of the stress, sometimes we brush the stress aside, like, well, this is how we've always done it. And we're still making money. We're still serving our customers. So should I really pause and examine this, or should I just keep going? Like, should I really take the time to look at this, or should I just keep going? And I think through what we did together, I mean, I forced you to take the time to look at it, right? I mean, because that's hard to do on your own. You probably wouldn't have done it on your own. I don't do it on my own.
100% I would not have.
Okay, so what's changed? What do you think's changed now that we've gone through a process? I guess I'm going to describe the process and you tell me if I'm right. So Monday and I worked together kind of intensely over a 4-month period of time, and we really looked at every aspect of her business. And a lot of times I was just the question person and she would just give the answers. And as she was saying giving the information, talking about it out loud, all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, that doesn't sound very good, or this isn't right, or I bet there's a better way to do this. But it's not until we actually verbalize that we notice that. True?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
And what you did was like you broke everything down to the nth degree, which being a small business, one of the things that you feel like you never have is time. And so taking the time to actually break down all the parts to every specific detail, and saying another thing that you did was like take all the people and say, who is capable of doing this and who's going to be best at doing this? The people that we already have. And then you said after we assigned things to all the people that we already have, there were leftover pieces. So then you said, you need a person to handle these leftover pieces. So we went through and then we figured out who we needed to hire for those leftover pieces. And it kind of just made everything more clear and it made everything more simple, even though it seems like it's more complicated because now all of a sudden you have all these broken down pieces, but it actually simplified things in my brain and made it easier to.
It creates a flow, right? Like things weren't flowing before, which is, I think, why it felt chaotic. So now, even though you may have more people involved, there's actually a process and a system and a flow to the business, because we broke your business down from the time someone reaches out to you and says, I think I want a pool, but I don't know, till the time that, you put the last piece of sod in their backyard with the margarita, right? So we broke it down, that whole process, and now actually, it flows.
Yeah, you even took it beyond that to the phone call that happens 6 months later saying, how's everything going?
Right. Because most of the small businesses, we all rely on repeat customers and referrals, right? So that's an important aspect.
90% of our business is word of mouth.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. So I guess that's a good point too. Like going through this process, it's not all about like beefing up the marketing and we did talk about changing some marketing but it's your business is still coming word of mouth. It's just coming, there's more of it coming, right? And you're able to handle it.
Yes. And then the other thing that I want to really make a point of, and I feel like this might be a fear of every small business, is that in the beginning, and this applies to hiring you, and it also applies to all the things that you and I figured out in this process, is that I'm always afraid there's not enough money. There's not, like, we make money, we can pay our our mortgage, and we live our life, but I'm not banking all kinds of money all the time. And being a contractor, it goes up and down and sideways, and prices go up, and the pandemic, I mean, it's like everything has changed, and it's never consistent as far as money goes. And so what Andrea did was teach me that if I have to hire two more people to do X, then I need to make this much money in order to hire those people. And I need to sell 3 pools a month in order to do that. And she's like, can you sell 3 pools a month? And I'm like, yeah, I can. So,
Yeah. And now you're doing that. Now you're selling more than 3 pools a month.
and that seems like, when I say that out loud, it seems like logical, but somehow that it's not, when you're just thinking of all these different things, and you're a mom and all the,
Yeah.
it's like,
Because here's the thing. It's like with your business and most businesses I work with, they're not necessarily transactional. They're more service based, and you're working with your customer for a long period of time. It is not a 1 hour experience. So
mhm,
you lose track in how you're taking in funds. You kind of lose track of what you really need, the cash flow, in order to fund things. And until we kind of broke it down, I was like, well, that's 3 pools a month. Because we also
right.
figured out how much it takes to run your business, how much
Hmm.
it would take to grow the business. I mean,
Hmm.
we did a lot of math. We did some math. And you don't love numbers, as a
I
matter of
hate,
fact.
I'm awful at it.
I think that should be, if I kind of wrote down my typical client, no one likes numbers.
Yeah.
I like numbers now. I've learned to love numbers, but we got you to like them because now you look at them, you're like, I can do
We like,
that.
we like numbers when they're positive.
We do. But I think that's a really good point. Things became less scary.
Yes,
Things have
exactly.
become a lot less scary and a lot more X plus Y equals Z. I mean, that's kind of the way it goes,
Well, and
right?
also to that point, things have become more consistent, I guess, and
Uh-huh.
more like I can see a future. Like before, we just, like, it was day by day.
Hmm.
It was like, okay, we're gonna make it through today, and then we'll get to tomorrow. And I don't want to think about tomorrow because it might not be the same as today. So let's just stick with today and get through it. But now I kind of can see what's happening down the line and plan for that and make sure that I have enough resources to get me like 5 years ahead, which is
Hmm.
like mind blowing.
Mine.
I've
So tell,
never thought of that way. I've never thought of that kind of in my whole life. That's almost embarrassing to say that I've never thought like 5 years down the line, but now I do.
yeah, and it's exciting.
It is.
It's actually kind of fun.
Well, it's fun, and it's also calming. Like, I don't know what the word is. It makes me feel like more, I'm not scared of the future. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm scared, but just like stressful. Like the future was stressful before,
Uh-huh.
and now, like, okay, now I know what's going to happen. It's like seeing into the future almost.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
a
you're using what you want to happen in the future as a guide versus avoiding even thinking about it and living from the past. Right.
yes.
So I think we do that too. Like, well, in the past, I learned that I'm just, if I can just make it month to month, and that's good. Now you're over that thinking. Now you're thinking about, you're using the future to help you make decisions. You're using what you want in the future to help you make decisions, which I think is a great part about that whole process. So, all right. So tell us, what is in the future?
So I have a whole nother business that I'm trying to get off the ground, which is related to what I do now, but it's more like hopefully in the future, it'll be more like a passive income type thing.
Hmm.
So that's what I'm working on. And it's very, very hopeful. And at the same time, takes up tons of my time and is pretty stressful. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
that's what
all right, but what if we like the thing about taking up tons of your time? What's one of the things that we're aiming for here
is.
is what you tell us.
Well, one of the things I'm aiming for is that it's passive income. And so it won't be a huge amount of work once it's all going on its own. But that being said, it's probably going to take 5 years or something to get to that point. So, what Andrea and I have been doing together is trying to make creative atmospheres run without me so that I can go over to this other thing.
Did you guys all hear that? Have her business run without her. Like, imagine that. Everybody should be sitting down listening because you would have never in 5 million years have said that like 9 months ago.
No. And like when you're the owner of this, everybody knows that's an owner of a small business. Like you can't even get through one night's sleep without, somebody
Okay, and
wanting.
talking about one night's sleep, I mean, Monday, I'm just going to say, is an amazing mom. She may tell you otherwise, depending on what the day is. But she, so this is another thing that we've kind of thrown into all this whole mix, right? We all doubt our parenting abilities too, as
I
we,
have always thought that I am a way better business owner than a parent. And what Andrea did was connect the dots for me and showed me that like it's all connected. And if I am good at being a business owner, I'm also good at being a parent.
you are.
Yeah, because you're just kind of managing people.
You're just managing people. They're like your little employees.
Which is
But
awful.
it's not, they're not your little, but I think we beat ourselves up, right? Because we think it's one or the other. I think that's the thing. We think it's one or the other. Like we're good at one. If we're good at being good at one, then we can't be good at the other. But we've figured out that you can be good at both and you are good at both. That's not you can be, but you are. You just don't see it all the time.
Yes. And the other thing that you gave me, which was like a gift, and you give this to me on a like bi-monthly basis, is and it's okay.
Yeah.
Um, so Andrea taught me and all the other people that she coaches that you can say, I didn't do this today, and that's okay. Instead of me beating myself up constantly about not getting my 10-mile long list done,
Yeah.
I'm allowed to say now, I got the top 3 done and it's okay.
It's okay. Right. Because we figured out like, what do we really need to get done? What do we really not need to get done? And beating ourselves up, is not motivating.
No, and
Not
it's
motivating at
productive.
all.
And
Not motivating at all. Okay, so if we think about this, all right, so your business has grown, you've hired new people, you're easily selling the number of pools you want to sell each month.
Mhm.
You've started to expand kind of a piece of your business to hopefully become some passive income. You're on your way out of being involved in the day-to-day of the current existing business. Everybody's still alive at your house, including the dogs.
Yes.
The
Yes.
boat is you got a raise because the boat's paid off. I mean, all these amazing things have happened.
True. True.
So true. So true.
Yep.
All right. So, what would you tell the small business owner, female parent? What would you say to them who's feeling like things are a little chaotic if you were the coach?
I would say that it's possible. Like all of this is, and okay, I want to like I listen to podcasts a lot. I'm an infophile. Like I'm always wanting to learn and gain information, but I always thought all the people that I listened to were a bunch of liars. Like I heard these women and they're like, "Yes, I could be a mom and I could be a business owner and and I can run 2 miles a day and blah 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 and and I thought they were like full of it, but they're not. Like I realized that all of this is possible when you have a game plan.
Yes. That's it. It's all possible when you have a game plan. So we have a game plan, right? You've got a game plan. Now, the plan doesn't always go exactly as planned because we're human.
Well, and the other thing that I was going to say, and this was another thing that I wanted to say, like make sure that everybody listens to this part, is because, so I started out saying that I'm a creative and my brain is all over the place. So I'm not going to lie and say that I like look at this thing every single day and I wake up in the morning and stretch and look at the list and blah, blah, blah. That's not true at all. I don't do that. But what happens is it's almost a subliminal message that the things that you and I talk about are in my brain as things that need to happen. Like I'm following everything I do in the day is focusing on the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So rather than just willy-nilly following my to-do list, all of the things that I do have a bigger function. So all the little parts go and fit into the bigger parts. And so I don't feel like I've wasted time doing that were not necessary. And again, all those things are kind of subliminal. So when I get on the phone with you 2 weeks later and you bring up the vision traction organizer, we start checking things off and I'm like actually blown away. Like, oh my gosh, we did that. We did that and that and that and that. We did that. It's so cool to be able to like, it's a reward to be able to see the things that you did and feel successful.
So you literally are accomplishing things, right?
Yeah.
And you feel successful and you are successful. And I'm going to throw something else in. You can share it with other people and say, see, we actually did this.
Yes.
Do you remember when we were crossing things off? You're like, wait, leave those crossed off things in there. I want to show Billy. I want to show.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Instead of just deleting them because we did them, I want to see that line, right?
Yes. Done. So I think really what you're saying, is like what you're doing on a daily basis aligns with bigger goals, bigger ambitions, personally and professionally. This isn't all about, this is like who you want to be as a human. This isn't, which includes who you want to be as a business owner, includes who you want to be as a parent and a spouse and a friend and an aunt and a employer, right? With all your guys, you got all your guys working. So it all aligns. And I think sometimes people say, well, then is that going to come at the expense of like having zero free time or no fun or what? No, you're having fun. You're doing fun things.
It actually makes it more acceptable when you've like sort of planned it out. When it's chaotic, when everything is running a little bit chaotically and you don't really know where everything's going or where anything's coming from, you take a vacation and I have always taken vacations and been stressed the whole time.
Yep.
Like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen when I get back? And what are they doing without me and blah, blah, blah. And now I know that everybody knows what they're supposed to be doing and it's able to be running without me there and I can actually relax.
Which is amazing. I remember two things. One, I remember when Sam is her office manager, went away for like 2 weeks. Didn't she go away for like 2 weeks or something? And you're like, that's okay. I got it. Like, we know everything that's going on. It's not a big deal. And that was a new feeling for you. It was totally a new feeling, right? And then I remember another time you messaged me and you said, I know we're meeting tomorrow or whatever, 2 days from now, but we're going to Disneyland. I'm just picking it up and we're going to Disneyland. And I was like, oh, I'm so happy she's going because she feels like confident enough to just say, bye, I'm leaving for a day or two and everything was going to still be okay. And that probably wasn't the case a while back.
Right. For sure. I would have to do double the work, if anything came up like that when I got back. So it made leaving or doing anything spontaneous not fun at all.
See, and that's not how we want to live. We're too old for that.
Right.
All right. So to wrap up, what do you think the best part of giving yourself this support has been? What's like the best part of it? What would you say?
The best part for me is just the calm feeling, I think. That's the best word I can come up with is calm, because I'm really good at spinning plates. I'm really good at, like, running around. I get everything done no matter what.
Yep.
Like, I'm a doer. Like,
Yep.
I get it all done, and I'm going to make sure everybody's happy and all the
Yep.
boxes are checked. But it's not necessarily, it's never calm in my brain or my body when I act that way. So, yes, it all gets done, but when I have a plan and something to, like, follow, even if it's just a subliminal message that's in
Mm-hmm.
my head, then I can actually relax knowing that if I just get the top 3 done
Yep.
and there's still 3 things left on the list, I can go to bed at night. I could sleep. Like, I can
That's a good
actually
thing.
say, I can do those things tomorrow or next week or not at all.
Right. Imagine that. Like eliminating things. Like, why is that even on the list?
Yes.
So good. It's so good. I think another funny thing to think, well, not funny, but great and humorous to me is you just shared with me earlier today that there's one of the hidden benefits is that the spouse or partner in these situations also sees a difference in
Mhm.
you. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, I would. And he's not necessarily the one that's going to come right out and say that, but I can tell by, his behavior and his actions that, I mean, I think he feels calmer with me being more calm. And
Exactly. I
yeah,
was just going to make that point. And also he knows he kind of can say, "Oh, you're going to tell me I need to change my thoughts, right?"
yeah,
And giggle about it
yeah.
versus
Hopefully
get mad.
rubbing off on him a
It's
little
rubbing
bit.
off. It's rubbing off. All right. Well, this has been super fun. So I know there are a lot of you listening out there that can see yourself probably in Monday, at least in parts of it. And investing in coaching is not like there's no budget for it. People usually aren't like, oh, look. But the rewards are, I believe, and I think you've kind of shared, are just they're priceless, right? So there's no price for you can't put a price on it because the price, a lot of it is just how you feel internally.
For
I don't know.
sure. I'm not gonna lie, I was super scared
Yeah,
to spend this money. I was really nervous and worried about it, and I had to talk my husband into it, and just like, but in the end, it's worth every penny, because it just changes my outlook on everything and just makes it a lot more, it just makes me more calm, which is worth
yeah,
it.
that's it. That's worth $1 million right there.
Yes,
Right there.
absolutely.
All right, everybody. If you want to investigate coaching like Monday has experienced, please head over to the website and check out the Work With Me tab. And what we're really specifically talking about is the Runway to Freedom Mastermind kind of coaching. That is the kind of coaching that she and I have done. And I would love to have you as part of that as we move into fall. Let me know if you've got any questions. And remember, there's never a really great time. It's just now is the time. Now is the time for
Mhm.
you, and you're the one that's going to make it happen. All right. Have a great week.
Wasn't that fun to listen to? She is a hoot, and she's such a good businesswoman and a great mom and spouse. And I think what really became apparent to me as I talked to her that afternoon was that my theory on how our lives are so intertwined, our personal lives and our professional lives are all wrapped up like a ball of yarn, that is so, so, so true. And she is someone who wears multiple hats. But over the past year, she's gotten clarity on what she wants wearing each of those hats to look like. And she has made the time and the space to wear multiple hats well, which I think she would say she necessarily didn't feel that way when we started. So if you saw yourself in Monday, if you kind of felt that lack of control that she did, if you felt that overwhelm, if you felt chaotic, if you can't turn your brain off just like she couldn't turn her brain off, then come join us in Get a Grip Masterclass. Come join us in the Runway to Freedom Mastermind. Check the links out in the show notes to both of those. Get a Grip starts next week if you're listening to this in real time. Mastermind, you've got till the end of September 2022 to register or get on the wait list for the next one. But she lived this process and I think is so grateful for it. All right, my friends, that's all I have. Have a great week. Remember, it's your time right now to level up. No one's going to do it for you. See you soon. Thanks for listening to the Time to Level Up podcast with me, your host, Andrea Liebross. If you know someone who could benefit from listening to this episode, I encourage you to take a screenshot and share it with them. Okay, now what about you? You've listened to the podcast, and if you now know that you're ready to upgrade your life, upgrade your business, upgrade you, then stop being only a listener and start being a liver, living that upgraded life. Head over to my website and schedule a call. Right there on that call, we'll start changing the way you think and act so that you can have the freedom to achieve the impossible in life and business and have the resources to do it. You deserve an upgrade. Let's do it.